The bounce news. You know how we do. The bounce news. So we got my boy Young Noble. Rest in peace to Young Noble from Montclair, New Jersey. One of the original outlaw members. Died by suicide. His family cites depression and financial struggles, man. Now, one thing we know is depression is real. But I would have never thought in a million years that one of the outlaws would have took their own life. I ain't even gonna lie. Especially not Young Noble. He was just on YouTube, you know what I mean? I fuck with him on Facebook. We done chopped it up. He in my DM. He done told me holla at me. You know what I'm saying? Cool with my pops. All that. So, like, I would never thought.
You'll be going through it.
And I never thought. I know financial struggles make niggas trip out, bro. But damn.
That's what they're saying. His motive was financial.
They saying his motive was depression because of financial struggles. You know, you be on such a high, and then you start owing people money. You start going through shit. You realize.
I mean, financial struggles are people don't recognize that. I mean, we live in a world where we have to sustain ourselves financially, and pressure, even on a low level, is a lot for people. It's about just knowing how to manage it. People that don't have a lot of money are stressed out and probably will feel the same way as just as a person who has access to a lot of money and lose it,
Mm-hmm. Well, see, but that's one of the main things, though. Why do people let money come between them? Death and love. I don't understand that. I'm not letting money get me to the point where I want to take my own life, be so depressed. That's why I look at people that's homeless. Like they one thing that they got that we'll never have is the sense of happiness where they don't have no worries. Because
they got a lot of worries. They got a lot of worries that we don't worry about, like somewhere private to rest your head, somewhere clean to wash your face. I mean, those are a lot of worries.
Yes, but that's worries to the average person, but to most homeless people, they don't give a fuck about that. And most of the time, the reason they don't care about that is because, as far as they concerned, they just trying to.
But I mean, a lot of those people, it's a mindset. Yeah, a lot of those people, they first of all, it's a mindset. It's emotionally challenging to your thought process and how you feel. Because what may tick me off may not tick you off. You looking at it like, oh my gosh, that's not a big deal. I went off myself. But people are really going through things emotionally, and then some things that happen to them are just triggering. So financial stress could cause a person who's already at their peak to go over the top.
But that's why I said one thing when I was homeless and I was on the street. One thing I noticed about being homeless, like how we worry about taking a shower or we stink and we dirty. The average homeless person not worried about that
because they've already given up on a lot of things. Yeah. So the things that we're still holding on to, for our day to day, like taking a shower, that's still a priority to us. A lot of those people have already gone through things and given up mentally and emotionally, and that's why you see it in how they live. People who are happy and got their wits about themselves are not necessarily sleeping on the street. They're doing things to keep themselves either in a hotel or in their car.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
I know, but like, for instance, I had this one dude when I was working at 7-Eleven, and I was talking to him about how he ended up being homeless. And he was telling me how he ended up doing drugs because his wife was cheating on him, and he ended up going to the street doing drugs. But I kept asking him, like, yo, you don't want to go back to your kids, your wife, and all that? And he was more happy on the street and was rather be on the street because he felt like he didn't have to worry no more. He didn't have to worry if she was cheating on him. He didn't have to worry about bills. He didn't have to worry. Like, it was almost like he felt like
He's given up on everything.
Everything that he was depressed about, he wasn't depressed about no more.
Right.
Because he felt like all the weight was all off his shoulder. Because being that nobody's looking for me, I don't have to pay no bills to nobody. I'm out here on the street. If I get $1, the dollar's for me. So sometimes that homeless person, it lives a better life than the average person that's going through the day-to-day struggle with bills and trying to keep his day-to-day life together. And because why? You are going to have, you're going to be more depressed in life because you have to sustain sustainability. You have to keep your life maintained. You got to keep food on the plate. You got to keep all this shit that keeps you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Keeps you in that box.
Position. Right.
To where, like, for instance, you know how many times you say to yourself, I don't know how I stay sane. I got to do all this, da-da-da. When the average person who's living a bum life, they don't have to worry about that.
No, they don't have to worry about it because they've given up all of that thought process. They couldn't handle it. It was too much to go through a wife cheating for you, so you rather just give up. That's not me. What keeps me going is my children. I have a motive. Every day that I get up, I know that I don't want to be sleeping on the concrete. I don't want to be able to feed myself. I don't want to be able to live a life of comfort. So I have the wherewithal to say that's my motive. So I get up so that I don't have to live like that. My mindset is different. I'm not running from anything. I haven't lost my mind so much to where I feel like I'm ready to just run away from it all. That's why I said it's a mindset. You're saying the person who is homeless is free, but that depends on who you ask. Because I'm looking at it. That's not
what I mean by free. I mean free from fighting that depression. Because when like I said, when you have, like how you said earlier, I got a lot on my mind. I got a lot. You going through stuff because you do stuff. Your day-to-day process, as what you got going on, is way hard. So to you, it's easier to get depressed. Just like for him, he probably got so much day-to-day and so much shit that is on my weight where people was depending on me. Mm-hmm. Now when shit start changing and your life expectancy change, and it's like, damn, the money ain't coming in like it was. Nigga, you start going through issues. That depression hits you way harder than these motherfuckers that's living worse than us. And we be having homes. We be going through the struggle, but these motherfuckers be on the street.
Right. And they're not having a good time. It's not as fun as you think it is. And you just said, and this is out of your mouth, you asked, oh boy, how did you end up on drugs? And he tells you what happened in his life. His coping mechanism is drugs. It's not the life. It's not a picnic out here on the street. These people that are homeless have ran away from something and possibly have gotten drug addicted. And if they're not drug addicted, they're selling their body for something else, or they're going through something emotionally and mentally, or they're mentally insane. That's not the highlight of life. That's stuck in a trap of something that you can't get out of because your heart and mind has corroborated and you've lost for a long time.
So when Young Noble saying that depression and suicide led, they saying his death led from suicide and depression and financial struggle. Shit. And like I said, that homeless person don't have no financial struggle. That's the hard part about it. You don't have to go through it.
No, but we're all going through financial struggles. Like somebody said, a mortgage is not mandatory. No, but sustaining and living is. So whether you're living in a house that requires a mortgage, if you can't afford to pay it, then get you a tent, get you an RV. You know, sometimes you have to downsize your living. Sometimes you have to change your living lifestyle. And for a lot of us, it's not, although we say it is change, people don't adapt to it. Someone who's made a lot of money for their whole life does not want to go back to a 3-bedroom apartment to live. That's what I'm talking about. It is definitely a mindset. Because we're all going to go through something financially. We live in a world where we live through transaction and making money and trade and all of the above. It's not going to go away. We just have to learn how to live in it and mentally function through it. And it's the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do because it's stressful. We have other emotional things going on besides just maintaining ourselves financially. You're going through things emotionally, and the finances throw you into a whirlwind to make you hard. But it's sad though, financial struggles. But you know what? That's not new, because we've heard a lot of people, jump off of buildings or off themselves for different reasons because of financial. And sometimes it's, who do you owe? The pressure of the people that you owe may be having a foot on your neck. It may not be something so simple as a mortgage. You don't know how in depth people, in the industry get just to sustain their life. Borrowing from other people who couldn't afford to lend to you in the first place. You gotta remember, these celebrities and people in this entertainment life, they got way bigger bills than we do. So depression for us, that's when we got a $200 or $300 bill when we ain't ready for it, or don't have the funds, available. Imagine having these $100,000 bills. No, people can't take the loss. They cannot take the loss at all. And that's why I said it does go back to the mindset. We have an unhealthy relationship with money and how finances go. And what I've definitely learned in my life is I've had a whole lot of money at times, and then there was sometimes I was looking like, what the fuck did I do with all of that money? And we seem to look at it as finances are always, and we want this for ourselves, of course, but the truth is your finances are not always stable. And that's why you hear people say to prepare and invest and do other things that we don't tend to do, so that we can avoid as many possible situations of taking a loss as possible. But when you do have to take a loss, people are not prepared for it. They are so far gone because they have lived a lifestyle of luxury, like I said, that they cannot revert to temporary. And even if it's temporarily, they cannot revert back to taking, a 3-bedroom apartment or a smaller house, or your kids not being able to go to that fancy school. They may have to go to a public school. And it's because we live off of things like image. And if you have money, you have a better image. You said his Bills party? His Bills party? Or you saying his bills probably was like 10,000 a month? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they are. When you look at people's houses and their cars, like, yeah, it is probably 10,000 a month. And you forget that people get all of this stuff based on their current income to be able to afford it. And when you can't afford it anymore, that bill doesn't go anywhere. That's real life. Because you going through it and you have a loss of finances, they don't give a damn. And as many programs and as many times as they say they do, at the end of the day, they want their money. So your financial change is, they don't want that to be their loss, whether it's a bill, car, mortgage, whatever it is. At the time you had the money, you agreed to pay for this item or this property or whatever it is you have. Now, because your finances have changed, their process doesn't change, and unfortunately, that leaves us in emotional strength. Because one, you've already taken the loss, and two, now you're going to have to downsize or change your lifestyle, which you weren't ready for yet. But that's what happens. I mean, it's like playing dice all the time. And like I said, if you think of how money comes and goes, and we're looking at the market now go up and down. People are losing money. People are gaining money. It's so much that's going on. So when you're thinking about how to gauge that shit gets hard. For me, I can't say that it's worth enough for me to take my life, but there was probably some other things that triggered him with that, with his financial struggle. You still right there? Holy shit. That takes forever. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, that's crazy. Hold up, y'all. I got to a few times. Hopefully, I didn't know that now. Can you put those in the fridge when you put that in? Yeah. Oh, think about that. Holy shit. Wow, and I just looked, it says that TMZ reported, or his wife reported, that he had been battling depression. And he took a firearm to the head the morning of July 4th. Wow. Wow. That's major. That's major. But I don't get that because I would never want. Ooh, that's tough because people are going through depression, and if a person takes the option to say, I'm going to be the one to take my life. Huh? Go ahead. Oh no, he would have been there. A house is most definitely for guests and enjoyment. You don't really, and you know what? I recognize a lot of things now. Once you purchase a home, and when I was young, I was all excited to purchase a home. I had grew up in an apartment, so I had always wanted to, be in a big home. But even since I've purchased my home to the age I am now, my qualifications have changed. Like the requirements for certain things are not a must anymore. I just look for the simple things. And that's why I say it's got to be a mindset because some of those things are hard for people to fathom. They're like, nah, I need like the biggest, the realest, the prettiest pools and acres. And then you realize it's not really about all that. It's the family that you have inside. And I've got a home, so I don't necessarily need a house. I could be anywhere, but that's hard for people too. When a person is depressed, they're in their own world. They're locked in, and even though people are saying, "Oh, we love you, we're here to help," they don't necessarily hear it that way. They're fighting a battle all on their own, and it's hard. It's really really hard. Hold up. What's that? Y'all gotta eat that pasta. Y'all gotta smash it. So y'all gotta smash that pasta. You sure don't. You sure don't. Those selling a home could be somewhere else themselves.
Well, that's for us.
Huh?
That's for us.
No. You just eating bread?
Food too.
No. What is that on the plate? Pasta? Oh, that's what I'm saying.
It's for us.
No, it's not. No, sirree.
Well, later for me.
No. No. You get in enough trouble. Shut up, Lane. What up, y'all? And you know what, Sue? I don't think we talk about suicide enough, especially in this day and age with the climate on how people are. Like I said, social media puts on a lot of pressure because you're watching everything from an advertisement to like regular people day to day flaunting how they live. Then you have people that are going through their own emotional things within a relationship, family, work. And we're forgetting that, just like Gangsta Cap just said, speaking to someone that was homeless on the street, you know, he said his wife cheated on him. To me, that's not enough for me to run away from my family and live on the street and do crack. To me, it sounds like you really just was probably doing crack and she had enough and moved on. There's so many different things, but that's not enough. But to him, it was enough for him to say, listen, I'm giving up. I'm walking away. I don't want any more obligations. I don't want anybody to have obligations to me. And that's it. And drugs is going to be my coping mechanism. We don't talk about, we just talk about when people are using, but we don't talk about the pressure that they're feeling so much that they don't want to live anymore. People are not comfortable with discussing that. Oh, you mean like at checkout time, like the hotels? Well, no, to them it's not worth it. 11 a.m. If you got to leave, it's not worth it because they're not. I mean, people are already at a disadvantage, so that's not something that's beneficial to them because they're right back on the street in the same position. And then they got to work up themselves up to get the same money they just paid the previous night before. But yeah, you never know what somebody's going through. People are ticking time bombs out here. We on our last straw as is. You see? Nothing else cute. So do you need to take it off? Already try. You can't take it off. Mm. Why does it look so black there?
Remember, that's the dye.
Oh. Right, hang in there.
It's not terrible.
Hang in there. You'll be successful. Um, this is-
I'll do the other hand tomorrow.
Oh, you said what?
I'm doing the other hand tomorrow.
Ah, that's laziness.
Girl, look at the time.
That's the time you decided.
You don't make hot dogs or something?
What? No, that was earlier.
Y'all get hot dogs? You didn't tell me?
Huh?
You get hot dogs? That confused the hell out of me.
That was earlier. Are they still on there? Oh, yeah, you could eat one.
I didn't know you had hot dogs. Oh, what did you do those
I'm
stuff?
gonna ask you right too.
I know, Stevie. And you said you didn't want to show.